What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Cooper Stuff. All right. This film, Sound of Freedom, comes out, and before you even know it, you're involved in a culture war, and all you wanted to do was go see a film, and I am completely lit up. Now, I'm going to rant a little bit, but I can't even compare to the epic rants of my friend Graham Allen with the Dear America podcast. So I hit my friend Graham. I'm like, dude, what is going on with the pushback against this Sound of Freedom film? We'll explain what's going on, but say hello to our good friend, Graham Allen, friend of the show, friend of mine. How you doing, buddy?
Yo, man. At this point, we should just do a joint show, and then we should just co-anchor the show together at this point. You are Dear America's most often guest, and I've got to be nearing the top now for Cooper Stuff. I've got to be getting up there. Me and Billy Hollowell, Hollowell, one of the two. So
that's right. That's very, very good of you to notice. And I'm glad that I'm like that on your show too, because
absolutely,
man, things are getting flipping weird now.
You were mad the other day. You were upset.
You liked it, didn't you? You like it
deep down. You know that I like confrontational type things. Like it's something that the Lord works with me on quite often. You know how some people, they like avoid awkward confrontation. I'm like that person that's like, you're going to let them talk. You just going to let them get away with that. You're just going to let them, I'm the guy that's just like, I relish in it. Like it's not a good characteristic that I have. And so I have to like push it way down. But there was that little bit, I was like, ooh, John's spicy today. This is going to be good. Yeah, man. No, it's it is this pushback with the Sound of Freedom. I don't think it's the Sound of Freedom. I think it's just Sound of Freedom. Sound of Freedom is you wrote me about it, and I think I don't remember exactly what I said. I think I said something along the lines of, why is there all this pushback to blah 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 blah, and sometimes the most simplistic answer is, and oftentimes it is this way, the most simplistic answer is oftentimes the correct answer. And so, before we get deep down into it, I think the listeners should think to themselves as we discuss this, why would anyone, that be a person, a media outlet, a journalist outlet, whatever, why would a person be an anti-child sex trafficking movie? And ask yourself that question above all the other questions as we go along. And then, oftentimes the answer that you would immediately have to that, oh, they're a pedophile or anything like, just bam, whatever the first thing is in your mind. That's where we are, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, we are there. We are witnessing people actively going against an anti-child sex trafficking movie. And it is absolutely insane.
Yeah. I mean, when I started laughing when I got your text back, because you're like, sometimes the simplest answer is just the answer. I'm like, that's why I like Graham. It's like, hey, you know what? We're not going to overthink this. Boom. And I like, but and I feel like I need to rewind, because some people might be like,
yep,
I don't even know what they're talking. So I apologize, everybody. I started this thing because
we'll go back.
I'm still mad from the day. All right. So film comes out. It's called Sound of Freedom.
Yep.
And is Jim Cavaziel's the main star, based on a true story of a guy called Tim Ballard, who was what did he work? What was he actually working for? The U.S. government?
Homeland Security. Yeah.
All right. So Homeland Security. All right. So anyway, real life stories of going and saving children from these, sex trafficking rings. All right. Which is obviously a real thing. And so, by the way, you can still see me, right?
Yep. Yeah, I got you. You're there.
Sorry,
beautiful as always. Yeah.
Something weird just happened to my screen here. So anyway, so this comes out, and they originally, it was going to be, I can't remember where it was going to be released, but then Disney bought up whoever they were going to buy it from. Then Disney shelved it. They didn't want to release it. Next, Netflix wouldn't release it. So they end up going with Angel Studios. Angel Studios does The Chosen. And so it's more of a I don't know, conservative or religious funding, whatever you want to call it, it became a culture war thing. And so I get all of that. What I was not expecting was this. Let me read you a couple headlines so people know what we're dealing with here. What I was not expecting was the movie comes out and it ends up, crushing on its first week. Everybody's shocked. I think it brought in 19 or 20 million in that first 4 days. Does that sound about right? I think
it's at like 42, 43 now or something like that.
That's right. And so I think because of that, it gets all this publicity, right? Yep. I expected the left not to like it. And yeah, this is a conservative film and blah, 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 blah. But I get it. But I got to admit, I'm so naive. I never expected this reaction. This is The Guardian. The title of the article is Sound of Freedom, the QAnon adjacent thriller seducing America. And in case anybody wants to know, anytime somebody wants to like put a battering ram against something that they don't like, they call it something adjacent. I don't know if you noticed that. It's like white adjacent, conservative adjacent.
Yep.
So, and I won't even read the article because the articles are just so dumb. Here's another one from Rolling Stone. Where's the title of this article? This is the doozy. Sound of Freedom is a superhero movie for dads with brain worms. The QAnon tinged thriller about child trafficking is designed to appeal to the conscience of a conspiracy-addled boomer.
Yeah, that was my favorite one. That was my favorite one. Was that one? Yeah, that one was pretty. That one was. They're all an attack, but that one was like bam. It was like just hit you right in the face with it. If you, I don't know anyone that enjoyed that movie. First of all, like it's not like a feel good movie. Like you don't walk out of there going, "Oh, that was great." Like, you walk out of there feeling like you just got punched in the gut, and in the face. And so, but that article is basically like, if you thought that movie was good in any way, you are a QAnon conspiracy theorist, and this is like your Superman movie or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, did you expect them to have this reaction? Are you as surprised as I am? I mean, you've been doing this longer than me. Were you surprised at the level of vitriol?
You know me, I'm not shocked by a lot of things. I will say no, because I knew that, and if you've seen the film and you've stayed for like the special message that they have at the end of it, the film was actually filmed 5 years ago. So back in 2018, the film has been done for 5 years. And for 5 years, this film has, you call it licensing rights, you call it whatever you want to call it. And I'm not really in the mood to do the semantics of this stuff. Netflix had the right, or Disney had the rights, and then Netflix got it, and then so-and-so had it. And 5 years, this movie was not going to see the light of day. And I don't think that they were expecting it to. Angel Studios actually bought it. Like, I think I don't know how much money they paid for it, but they bought the film to get the rights to be able to do it. And so for 5 years, this movie has been on the shelf. You got to ask yourself the question, why? Why was this movie that only cost $15 million to make? If you put it on Netflix, it's going to make money, right? It's an obvious moneymaker. It's a $15 million film, zero chance if you put it on a massive streaming platform like Disney Plus. I don't really think it belongs on Disney Plus if you really look at what Disney's supposed to be about, but I digress. But Netflix, it's going to make money. So why didn't they put this movie out there? The movie's going to make money, like, period. If you put it on a streaming platform, cost you $15 million, you're probably going to make $100 million off of the streaming revenue from it in the first place. You have to ask, why did it take 5 years for this movie to even come out in the first place? And so, no, now that it's finally out, they cut it in half. It's only allowed in half of the theaters in the United States, as opposed to like your Indiana Jones or your major releases. And then it just squashes everything. And the effect that remains true time and time again, that I'm so proud of people in 2023, is that when people find out that people don't want you to do something, they go. Like I am so proud of people in 2023, because that's been the biggest shift to me. And that's why you're seeing such a vitriol response. because it used to be, oh, you shouldn't go see this movie. The movie never would have had any momentum at all. But now it's like, hey, these people don't want you to see this film. And people naturally want to go, well, why do they not want me to go see that film? I'm going to go see the film. Like, why am I not supposed to go see this thing? It's a new culture aspect that people are kind of going into here. And so, no, I'm not shocked at all. I don't think it's over. I think it's only going to get worse.
Let me tell you guys about my friends at SD Bullion. All right. Precious metals, gold and silver. Some people go, I don't really understand why this is a big deal. I want you to understand this. A couple of years ago, I got very concerned about the state of the world. All right. We're talking about inflation. We're talking the amount of debt the U.S. has is so absolutely insane. We're talking about the possibility of a one world technocracy, a one world currency, which is just so very, very frightening. We are printing money and spending money at a rate that we cannot keep up with, frankly. So I said, okay, what can I do to diversify my funds that I have something in my hands in case the very worst happens? And that is why you need to contact SD Bullion. All right. I'm not saying go sell everything you have and buy a whole bunch of gold. I'm saying you may want to consider putting a little bit of your money into gold and silver. SD Bullion is a Christian-owned company. They're passionate about training Christians about investment and about why gold and silver are a good investment. They have great pricing. They send straight to your house. They will send you a brochure. All you got to do is this. Text the word Cooper to 465-322. That spells gold 22. They're going to send you a brochure. They'll teach you about it, give you options. Or if you say, hey, I want to spend $75-$80. I want to get a silver coin or something like that. Text the word Cooper to 465-322. That's gold 22. They're going to give you a discount on your first order. All right. I do it. I bought all of my stuff for there, and there's just something about having it in your hand. You put it in a safe, and if the worst ever happens, you go, you know what? I know this for sure. This is a scarce resource, right? We're not printing gold. You can't make more gold, can't make more silver. There's a limited supply, which means it's going to hold its value. So if that interests you, do yourself a favor. Contact SD Bullion and say, hey, give me some information so I can understand exactly what this is. Text Cooper to 465-322. Do you think that these people actually disbelieve that there is, I don't know how to say this correctly. Do they, certainly they don't disbelieve that there are human beings trafficked today. Is it just that they disbelieve that it's happening to the extent that it's happening and we're exaggerating it? Or is it just that they do know and they just don't care? I mean, what's the deal here?
Well, I know that they know. They had somebody on CNN. I can't remember his name, but I saw the clip and he was like, nobody's discrediting that human trafficking exists. Like we know that, right? And my argument is, okay, there's a couple things in the movie that are movie-esque, right? Like,
sure.
From what I understand, can I do a spoiler alert? Has it been out long enough that we can do a spoiler alert?
I think so. Yeah, okay. I think so. I think
there's a scene in the movie where Jim Cavaziel playing Tim Ballard, he has to kill a guy to get out of a situation that he's in. From what I understand, that didn't happen. Like that part, but the going in there and getting the girl and out in the middle of the jungle somewhere, like that part was real. But that whole having to fight the guy or whatever and add that little bit of action in there, that was movie-esque from what I understand. But even if you think numbers are inflated, why attack the film? like it can't be argued that millions of people in modern day slavery are human trafficked, and half. This has been referenced in 2 movies here lately. Nefarious referenced this in Sean Patrick Flannery's dialogue. He was like, there's more slaves today than at the height of the Roman Empire. And, he's a demon in the movie. So he goes, and the best part of it is half are sex slaves. Half of those are sex slaves. Like, this is something that is starting to come out in a lot of movies. So my question is this: even if you think the numbers are inflated, okay, it's really not, 40 million people, it's 15 million people. So what? It still
Right.
exists. It's still modern day slavery. It is still an evil at the height of which can't even be understood. Underneath abortion, I think child sex trafficking is the next one. Abortion is the absolute most heinous thing that we have allowed in our world. I think child sex trafficking is number two, in my opinion. If you had to order heinous acts that are happening in our world right now, why go after the film to try to destroy it, even if you think numbers are inflated? Still millions of people, half of them are children that are being sex trafficked. What point are you trying to get across? Like what is so bad about the narrative of the film that you feel as though you have to discredit the film? Like, okay, you didn't like the acting, you thought it was cheesy, but at the end of the day, this is a real life issue and people need to pay attention to it. What point are you trying to get across? And as we continue to talk about this, remember that question that I asked at the very beginning before we start talking about this. Why? What is the point to attack the film?
Yeah. I mean, it's starting to seem, and this is not coming from me. I mean, I really don't want to be like this, but they're forcing me to be. Yep. It's starting to kind of sound like that this is now a political issue. Yep. And if you're on the right side of the aisle, you care about sex trafficking. And if you're on the left, you don't. Yep. 3 days ago, I would have said, all right, that's a little unfair because I personally know people on the left. I know non-Christians on the left who hate sex trafficking. So that can't possibly be, but they're the ones making it a right-wing issue. So what are we to do, Grant? Do we just embrace it and say, heck yeah, if that makes me a right-wing conspiracy theorist that I care about sex trafficking, then fine. Yes, I'm QAnon sex. I'm QAnon right-wing conspiracy theorist.
Well, if you work out, you're a right-wing extremist at the same time. So don't forget that, John.
I just read that.
I've seen your exercising photos. We already know that you might as well be in the Klan at this point because you lift weights and you go to the gym.
These people I would say are nuts.
People are crazy, but I'll say this to your point, okay? To not do identity politics. When I say these things, like when I say things like there is an active pedophile ring, not only within America, but around the world. I'm not talking about the guy. Well, I mean, maybe, but I'm not talking about the majority of Democrats that live in your neighborhood, that work a normal job. I'm talking about the people that are in the rooms having the conversations and making the decisions that you don't know anything about. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the elites. I'm talking about the people that could actually cover for these things. Like that's what I'm talking about. Okay. It is yes. The answer is yes. If you would have told John, just go 10 years ago, somebody tells you, look, man, you didn't hear it from me, but there's this island and all these really rich people and celebrities and everything, they're flying off to this island and they're having sex with kids on this island. People, you were a lunatic and that was not happening. That you are mental. That's what would have been told to you. Come find out, Jeffrey Epstein obviously is what I'm talking about. It is real. It did happen. And to this day, they refuse to release the list of the people that were on the island. They have it. They have the list. They have the client, and they refuse to let it be seen. How people are not absolutely metaphorically like burning the houses down. Like, I want to know who's on that list. I think that's a very logical thing to want to know. I want to know who was funding this thing. Jeffrey Epstein didn't do it himself. These same people that covered up for the Jeffrey Epstein thing, that still to this day in your face are waving the client list in your face and refuse to do it, are the same people today. They literally today 2 hours before we got on this conversation, the Secret Service, the most elite police force that we have in the most secured building in the entire world, have concluded their cocaine investigation and have 0 suspects. None. Unable to identify anybody. I have been to the White House a lot of times, John. There is no, that's a lie. There is no way. I don't care. I do not care. I do not care. This is not a left thing, a right thing. There are 35 cameras in every room, every hallway, every entryway. They know the cocaine was in a place that normal foot traffic can't get into. That means that somebody that can just walk around doing whatever they want to do was in there. They're doing it in our face blatantly all the time. Yesterday, people are finally catching on to the fact, to fact check this. The DOJ did not downgrade human sex trafficking yesterday. It actually was a couple months ago, where they said it's not at their top highest priority list. It was actually in March, I think, is when they did that. Why? Why would you do that? And then they get mad at people like us. I'm on the internet on the Department of Justice's human sex trafficking page because I want to know what's going on. And so if you look at my search history, you're going to see Department of Justice, human trafficking, because I want to know what they're doing about it. I want to know what they're doing. But they think we're the crazy ones because we want to know what these answers are.
You bring up such a great, your analogy with the Epstein Island thing. I mean, as simple as that is, it's genius, because I would have told you were a lunatic had you told me that 6 years. I would have been like, Graham has gone down. He's gone way far down. There's no way this is possible. Now, the list of things that I would have told you was not possible 6 years ago, before I was paying much attention, that list is growing, and they all keep getting proven true. All right. All through the pandemic, all through Epstein Island, and that's Hunter's laptop, and everything is getting so crazy. And I have a feeling there are a lot of people like me, meaning me 4 years ago, they just want to be reasonable people. They don't want to believe in conspiracy theories, and they don't want to get extreme. And they hear, so they go, look, I don't want to be some psycho Christian or psycho conservative that's, red pilled, blah, blah, blah. I just want to be a normal Christian and be able to have reasonable conversations on both sides. Those days are freaking over. Those days are over when you got Epstein Island and they're still lying to us about it. Those days are over when I just think, hey, I know that the establishment and the institutions, I know they're not going to like Sound of Freedom. It's got Jim Cavaziel. It's got the guy that played Jesus in it. And he's Catholic, and he's an outspoken Catholic, and he's outspoken about all the COVID stuff and about church closures, which I love.
He's a punch you in the mouth Catholic too. Like he's
I love it.
Yeah, he will.
I love it. I read a quote from him this week that said that Christians are weak and useless because we are more afraid of the devil than we are of God.
Yep.
Now that's a quote for you. I wish I made that up. So I know the left isn't going to like it, but if all of the institutions are going to come out with articles against, as you said, anti-sex trafficking, and saying it's not even happening, it's not even actually a big deal, but they didn't do that when Taken came out. When Liam Neeson was going, punching every human adult male in the throat on the entire Eastern Bloc.
that wasn't real. That's why they didn't. That's why they didn't go after it. You didn't see any reports going Taken, although about a real life situation that is child sex trafficking, is a action movie that is exaggerated across. Nobody said that. Everybody like Taken's the greatest movie ever. Like they loved it.
Which it was. It was a good
movie. The second one was pretty bad, and the third one they kind of brought it back around. But either way,
I agree. By the way, move on. Go ahead.
There we go. Yeah, movie critics. We should start another thing about movies. But either way, look at it like this. I'll send this to you. And so this is inside knowledge for your listeners, for even for my listeners, because we're going to release this on Dear America as well. My last book that I put out, it was with a publishing company. And I submitted like my whole manuscript or whatever, and they actually took out an entire chapter in that book. It infuriated me to all ends. Like they took an entire chapter out of the book. And in the book, I titled that chapter, How to Destroy America. And I wrote the chapter. I think you'll appreciate this because you're a artistic guy. Have you ever heard I don't remember who did it, but If I Were the Devil? You ever heard that? Like, if I were the devil and I wanted to destroy America,
yes.
I could do this and this.
Yes,
and this,
that's
and this.
right.
So I wrote it in the same cadence of that, but it was How to Destroy America. And at the very last line, I still have that chapter of the book, and I'll send it to you, that they took out. At the very end of it, I say, so how do you destroy America? You do it straight in the face of everyone and dare somebody to do something about it, and they won't. That's how you destroy America. And so that's what's happening right now. And I wish to everything. I may release it. Like some of the things like aren't relevant anymore because it was, 2.5 years ago. But some of the things like that are very relevant to today, and because they're waving it right in our face. Like that this happened. That they did this. That this is going on, but yet they're still just throwing it in your face and kind of like, well, what are you going to do about it? And, that's a question that every person listening has to ask themselves. What are you going to do about it? Because they're literally waving it in front of your face. They're lying to you straight in front of your face, and it's a lie. It's like when your kids lie to you and you already know what they did, but you ask them anyway, right? Like what'd you do? And then they lie to you, but you already know what they did. Well, that's happening on our end, except we're not doing anything about it.
That is a great point, Graham. I feel like this movie, and by the way, I'm not even saying like this is like the most amazing film I ever saw. I mean, this movie is not even about the film anymore to me. It's about the response to this film. And it has done something to me that has made me realize even more. And in fact, let me say this. I just want to make sure everybody knows I already knew sex trafficking was real. I didn't learn anything new from this film. I liked it. Right. I embrace it. People should see it. I liked it. What I've learned from this film is from the response. And it has made me realize even more that we are not in a reasonable day. We are not in a reasonable day where you go, hey, I want to engage people in reasonable conversation and win them over. We're dealing in days of madness. And that a little bit of me died this week seeing this when I went, okay, you know what? The days of trying to be reasonable are over. So let me tell you what's on my mind, Graham.
Yeah, go for it.
You already know this, but I'm going to go through the list for our listeners. All right. Number one, I've read all the sexual revolution material from the 30s from Wilhelm Reich. I read the sexual revolution stuff from Marcuse, who is a critical theorist. And I read the second wave feminist stuff. And then the third wave feminist stuff. I read the medical establishment in the late 40s and 50s. Was it Kinsey who wrote sexuality? Kinsey, sexuality of the human male and the female. Read this stuff about John Money, who did the transgender surgeries back in the 60s. All of these people, all of them without exception, promoted pedophilia. Every single one of them. And the medical establishment of the day promoted every single one of them. Hollywood promoted every single one of them. The media celebrated every single one of them. Nothing has changed all the way up today. Well, you got people like Kevin Bacon and Charlize Theron and Melissa McCarthy and all these Hollywood actors saying how wonderful it is to take your kids to drag queens or story hour and drag is love. And nothing has changed. These people are not reasonable. And so I'm looking at it going, okay, wait a minute. If the sexual revolution, and remember, conjoined with the medical establishment, big media at the time, and Hollywood, if it's the same thing as today and all of them praise pedophilia and the sexualization of your children, and the media is coming out against an anti sex trafficking.
It's a mouthful. Yeah.
As you said, the simplest answer here is that our elites are a bunch of sick perverts.
Yes.
That's the simplest. That's it. And it is not reasonable for us to say, well, that's not really fair. The facts are there. And this has just made me realize that little piece of me that just really wants to be winsome and give the benefit of the doubt. I think you're just being imprudent if you're still giving people the benefit of the doubt. A week ago, I still was giving people the benefit of the doubt. Yeah. It is done. It is gone. You're dealing with a bunch of perverts who are, in fact, coming after the kids. Am I right or wrong?
No. Well, no. I mean,
Graham's like, I've been preaching that for 7 years. Finally, John's on my side.
I've been easing you into this for 4 or 5 years now, John. Like slowly but surely. Think about, and this is both in my opinion, it's a good and a very, very sad thing. So think about. Anyone who's listened to us before knows that me and you actually met a long time ago. We have mutual friends from our past, etc. But me and you officially met and got to talking and becoming friends probably around 2018-ish, somewhere around in there. So people have heard this story. Think about our very first conversation, which was, and I wonder if you remember this specifically. It was more of the, tell me about the music and the band and and this and that. And then when we turned the mics off, me and you got into a conversation of, I believe I said something along the lines of, hey, this is only going to get worse, and we're going to need people like you that are in the Christian world to come and meet us that are in the political world halfway. I said something along those lines. Do you remember that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah.
So think about that conversation, and now think about everything that has happened since then. So if I can go purely spiritual for a moment, okay, I realize that everybody that listens on yours and my platform, they're not, not everyone is a Christian, et cetera. And I even have some listeners that are in the LGBTQ community. Some of them listen because they're, academics and they really just like to hear my opinion. Others listen because they absolutely hate me. So, from a purely religious standpoint, this is 100%. It is amazing to me how many Christians just do not believe in actual just evil. And they're so dumbfounded when they find out that somebody did something bad or people are doing something bad. And, we literally have a book. It's called the Bible. It's kind of like a playbook. It literally tells us point blank, this is not new. People have been doing this kind of stuff all throughout history, murdering children, sexual perversion, sexualization of children. People have been doing this, fallen societies, for the entire course of human existence. This isn't something shocking and new. The crazy part is we're supposed to be a new, established moral society. And what's actually happened is, no, we've just gotten better at being deceitful and covering everything up. And people, don't know about it. We live in a time where it's only going to get worse. And what we need, I hear you say the little piece of you died. And I would argue that needs to happen in today's battle. I had a conversation with a church just 2 weeks ago. I got to go speak in Phoenix. And I had the same conversation. I was like, the thing that Christians do or don't do, and churches do and don't do, is we're always about 15 years behind where we need to be.
Yeah, that's right.
The battle that we're fighting right now, we are not in maritime peacekeeping operations right now. That's not where we are. We are in soon to be, somebody wrote me the other day, because in my book, I talk about we haven't had our Pearl Harbor moment yet. And I still believe it hasn't 100% happened. We're getting close. The United States was ignoring World War II. They knew it was going on, but they were ignoring it, right? It's, we're just going to stand it. And then Pearl Harbor happened. They're like, okay, we can't ignore it anymore. That's how I feel about Christians, about, even if you're not a Christian, you're just at least a decently moral human being. We haven't quite had the Pearl Harbor moment yet. And I dread to think about what that's going to be. I do. I really dread to think about it. Mm. But we need warriors right now. That's what we need. We need warriors, because everyone that would say, well, as a Christian, you're supposed to love people and you're supposed to do this and you're supposed to do that. We can argue that all the time. I even made a point in my last preaching thing that I did, that the Bible is riddled with Jesus dining with sinners, but you never ever hear about Jesus getting invited back, kind of thing, because, Jesus, he hung out with people, but he's going to tell you the truth. He's going to tell you that these same people that would say that, they're watching us as Christians, as we see this evil going on. They're like, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to do anything? I just have a hard time believing, John, that if Jesus was here today and he was standing on the side of the road and there's children on the side of the road as grown men are naked with their genitals hanging out, riding down the street, I just have a hard time believing Jesus standing there going, this is appropriate. I love everybody. I don't, that's not the Jesus I read about. Like, no. I don't see a world where that's real and that's actually the truth. And Jesus, especially, you want to talk about hills to die on. Abortion and child sex trafficking are it. Jesus says very closely in the Bible, like, hey, Jesus was very clear about how he feels about children and how important they are. And here we are as grown adults, proclaiming Christians, professing Christians, and we're not going to fight and be willing to metaphorically or really the hills to die on, that is abortion and child sex trafficking and child grooming that is going on. I mean, it's like a three-headed monster that we're fighting right now, and it's all centered around kids. That's the other thing. That's the other crazy part. Kids that aren't born yet, kids that are currently born, and then confusion of children. Yeah. It is all related around children and young adults. That's it. You're right. Like me and you, somebody can come to you like, Graham, you like, I don't know. You watched you watched The Bachelorette with your wife back in the day. You might be gay. And I would look at you and be like, dude, I'm married. I ain't got a choice. It's a train wreck. You got to watch it. I'm not going to care what you have to say about anything, because I'm a grown adult. Like, whatever there's nothing you can say to me. You know what I mean? Yeah. Kids, it's going to confuse you. Impressionable. Children are unable to defend themselves, and then children in the womb obviously can't defend themselves at all. Every single bit of this is against children. Every single bit of it is evil. And yes, any man, biological man that wants to chest feed a child, they're pedophiles. Like Riley Gaines, credit to her. She came out and said it. A woman came out and said, any man that's trying to chest feed a child, that is sexual perversion. That is what pedophiles do. There's nothing. You are not a mother. You are not a parent. You're a sexual deviant. That's what you are. That's not real. That's not true. And it's wrong. And we're allowing it to happen in our society.
Man, you said so much that I gotta unpack. I love it. First of all, in case people watching don't know what Graham's referring to about the naked men and on the side of the road and Jesus being like, I love all these people. He's referring to a pride event in Seattle, I believe it was, where naked men on bicycles are driving by as a celebration of pride. There's families, there's kids.
Completely nude. Completely nude.
Absolutely. And then the chest feeding thing, just so people know, is a man who says that he's a woman and takes a whole bunch of whatever those, hormones or whatever it is to try to produce a substance to lactate to feed a baby. It's such, you can't make this stuff up. And I think you make a great point about this idea. You see it in the church today. People are like, but Jesus loves everybody. We're so blessed that we've been able to be like lazy, fat, and stupid because we've lived in such a good country. We just gotten lazy, fat, and stupid. And so Jesus loves everybody. You really think that would be Jesus's response at the new dudes riding past all the kids? He's like, love everybody. It's ridiculous. But you make another.
You brought the whip and flipped the table over.
I mean,
I'm sorry, but that's the truth, and people don't want to acknowledge that there's no way that Jesus would have been okay with that. Like there's no way. Like, find me a place in the Bible that would be, oh, well, Jesus loves sinners. What does that have to do with tolerating sinners at all? What we've gone from a place, I'm gonna go preachy on you for a second, where it's love the sinner, hate the sin, to ignore the sin, enable the sinner. That's what we've gone to as Christians.
Right.
And if we don't have people that are willing to, and this is a question I ask your listeners and then my listeners as well, what are you going to do about it? Like,
yeah,
what better hill to die on, whether it costs you your business, your money, whatever, than to protect your children and to go out and protect other people's children that maybe they can't. Like what, dude, it makes me want to just go off the grid and go find these people and it really does. It makes me go to an anger place where I just want to just be done. I'm not paying taxes no more. I got better things to do. Like, we got to go find these kids. We got to go fight these people. Like we've got to do something about this. And it's so dark.
You're trying to get me. You're trying to get us canceled on YouTube here, man.
I'm not trying. I'm not. I didn't say go kill anybody. I didn't say that. I said go out and go get them, i.e. Arrest them, save the children, do whatever happens
I know
country
exactly
to them after that point. That's not on me. I just it stirs up. I was talking to Victor Marks last week, and Victor and them, that's what they do. Like, they go find these people. And I was talking to him. I was like, what do you do for your soul, like, to see something so evil all the time? Because I'm being honest, I don't know if I have the strength to see what these evil people have done or are doing to these children and a switch not flip that I don't know if I would be able to turn it back off. Like it takes a super strong person to be able to righteously go after justice, right? I mean, it does. It's a very, very strong person. I don't know how they do it. Like, because I don't know if I could do it. I think that I would see red and I would Hulk out, and I have no idea what would happen after that. I mean, I'm just being honest. Like, how do you see such evil and then maintain any semblance of love for the human race at all?
Yeah, I honestly hear what you're saying. And I kind of want to go back to something, if I can, which is that you're talking about that some Christians have this, we have this problem where we don't believe in this like super duper evil, like is that it's as evil as it could possibly be. And I want to touch on that because I think that a lot of Christians, and I can relate to this, so I've got some grace here, but I really want to convince some people. I think a lot of Christians say, oh, I absolutely believe that, but they believe it in a sort of like bifurcation. So almost like a duality. Well, I believe that, but it's more like in the spiritual realm. It's not like in the here and now. It doesn't manifest. So it's a spiritual darkness that, yes, we got to fight that spiritual darkness with prayer, but it's not going to like manifest in any sort of political way or through a government tyranny. And that's one of the reasons I say we had the benefit of living in a country that has a wonderful constitution where people are free. So the idea of a government tyranny of absolute wickedness and evil, like communism or some like Stalin, like Lenin or whatever, we don't think that that's even possible because we've had the benefit of living in America. And I would posit to Christians that what you just said, Graham, if you see this evil face to face, how would I control my rage? Well, here's what I would say to Christians. Go back in time 8 years ago and ask yourself, what would you do if you were seeing videos of children hanging out while Pride parade nude people are driving by, where men are trying to breastfeed children. All right, which is impossible. But there's so much perversion. Drag queens coming to your school, paid for by the state, which means that our taxes are paying for drag queens to come to your school, for your kindergarten teachers to teach your kids about transgender ideology. 3 years ago, I was still trying to convince Christians that there was such a thing as transgender ideology. They didn't even believe me. So you go back in time. I guess the question is what is going to be the limit of things that you listener, whoever's watching this program, what is the limit for you to see with your own eyes to say, okay, by God, that just crossed my line. I'm getting vocal. That just crossed my, that crossed, it woke me up, and I will not put up, because the truth is we keep giving in a little by little by little because we want to be reasonable. And I just want to posit to the people watching today that the time, I'm not saying that we're not being reasonable. We are, but we're not living in a reasonable world. We're not arguing with people that are reasonable. We are arguing with people who have lost their minds to madness. Yes, they are perverts. Most of these elites do not have a problem with pedophilia at all. They just don't. In fact, they love pornography. They love the sexualization of children because they think it's going to create a good society. So I would just say, Christians, let's stop being theologically fat and lazy. Stop being philosophically fat and lazy. Get involved. I don't know what that exactly means for you, but part of it just might be believing what you see with your own eyes and realizing that these institutions, big media, big tech, Hollywood, they hate you and they hate your kids and they want the worst things possible for you and your family.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would say that that the Christian psyche and the Christian community is a reactive community and not a proactive community.
Yeah.
To quote a buddy of mine, Dan Bongino, he said, the truth of the matter is it just hadn't got bad enough yet. And what's going to happen is what is it going to take for that Christian to actually do something? It's going to happen to your kid. That's what's going to happen. Something's going to happen to your child. And that is truly unfortunate. It's going to be your child is, hurt by some pedophile. It's going to be your child is indoctrinated in school. It's going to be something along those lines. It's going to come to your doorstep. That's when Christians are going to be like, ding, 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 ding. Okay, we need to do something. But then it's too late. It's too late at that point, and so I would challenge Christians. I would challenge the church. I would challenge them to challenge what their idea of ministry is in 2023. I think we need to do that as a community across the board. When we think of ministry, we think of, evangelism. We think of starting a church. We think of missionaries. We think of all this stuff. What about the people that are standing up for righteousness in their town, in their community? What about the people that are going out there taking the arrows by themselves to, we don't like the word prophets in today's society. You bring up the word prophet, everybody's like, and they freak out, But what were prophets really? They were just people that loved God, that saw what was going on, and they were just basically screaming at the top of their lungs, like, do you not see what is happening? Do you not see the evil is going on? We need to return to God. We need to repent of this. We need to end this evil. And, these words didn't exist back then, but I would imagine they would have been called lunatics, probably called conspiracy theorists, probably called maybe domestic terrorist, white nationalist, whatever it may be. And I think that we're in that now too. And so I think there's a lot of people that are trying to fight the battles that have been abandoned by the church for a long time.
I think that's a great point.
Yeah. And so I had a conversation with at NRB. You were down there. We saw each other for like 2 seconds, but I had a conversation with somebody. And I said, look, this is the way I look at it. And this isn't just me. This is everybody that does similar to what I do. A pastor could lose their job and they could go apply and go do something else somewhere else, right? People like me we burned our boats for what we believe in a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like if social media shuts me down, if sponsors pull out and all this other stuff, like I don't know how I'm going to provide for my family. I can't go get a job. Like who's going to, I mean, honestly, who's going to hire me? No one will hire. We burned our boats a long time ago for what we believe in, because this battle is only getting started. The battle hasn't even started yet, John. That's where I'm at now. 5 years later, after we met each other, is the battle hasn't even really started. This is weeding out who the real warriors are going to be for the actual battle to actually go down, and that's my, my warning, my call to action for the people listening is, who are you going to be, man? Who are you going to be? Are you going to be the person that just played it safe because, you were worried about a paycheck, or you were worried about people having a bad opinion of you? Or are you going to be a person that when you die, whenever that is, that you laid it all on the line for the only one that really matters? And so, like you said, to Jim Caviezel's, point, so many of us are afraid of the world and the devil instead of making God mad. And I believe people like you, John, I believe people like me, other people with large platforms, and to those listening that will eventually create platforms for themselves. There's two judgments. Did you love the Lord? And, what did you do with the life that he gave you? And I believe that now is the time for warriors. Now is the time for truth tellers. Now is not the time for peacekeeping operations. Now is the time to drop the hammers down. And then, maybe 5-10 years down the road, maybe we can get back to that, peacetime stuff. But, if you ask me what I think, I don't think we're ever going to get back to that.
I think that's a poignant way to end. I love it. Who are you going to be? It's time for warriors. That is all spot on. And I want to, as we end, say how thankful I am that there are so many warriors watching the program, people that are raising their kids in the fear and admonition of the Lord. We are proud of you guys. And there are pastors that watch the show and church leaders, because I meet them on the road and I always make a joke. Why are you watching Cooper stuff? You're too smart for this show. There are people doing the work. We love you. We are Absolutely. So thankful to be fighting next to you. So Graham, thank you so much for coming on the show again. I appreciate it, brother.
Anytime, man. Love it.
Read the Bible.
Cooper stuff.